So you have started a new job and you have joined a new team in a new company. You attend the orientation session, you got your new laptop, you drink your first coffee, you meet your new team. But then suddenly when you start discovering the code base, you find, wait, this is something new. Like I haven't seen something like this before in either like bootcamps or tutorials. And you start feeling a little bit confused, like where to start, how to start reading the code, which is a starting point. And you don't know what is the process to read the code base correctly without getting confused. In this video we'll get into the processes that you could follow and improve the reading process of the code bases and show your new team that you are a capable developer that could do their job. So keep watching. Reading code bases is hard, and the reason behind this is you are not just reading the code base, but rather you are trying to know what was the developer thought process or what was in their mind when they wrote a certain piece of code or a certain line, why they implemented this feature, what was the reason behind this. So that's why it is a little bit hard. So for example, when you are watching a tutorial or a course online, the instructor who is doing the code, he actually have prepared everything, but when you are seeing a production code base, it's a little bit different because they implement a certain piece of code or a certain pull request, but after that they change it with another pull request. That's why it makes it a little bit confusing or different. And second part, you don't know how they started all of this code base, like it's containing a lot of files and a lot of lines, and you don't know why they made this structure or this code base different. That's what makes reading code bases is a little bit challenging or more hard for new developers to read it. And there are two main reasons why you need to get better at reading code bases. First one, it's actually your own job. Like you are going to implement new feature, new lines, different requests that you have to implement, and this is part of your job. And second part, it actually could help you to become a senior developer, become an expert, because being a senior developer is actually accumulating experience from different challenges or solving different problems. That's how you get more experience. And reading code bases is like knowing what was the thought process or what was the challenges that these developers who have wrote this code base have passed through and how they solved it. So it actually would increase your expertise and your experience, and eventually it could help you to become a senior developer on the long run. The first step to read the code base better is to understand the business or the reason why they made this application. And the easiest way to do that, you would run it, the project, like run the application, run the app, run the piece of code, not the piece of code, but the whole application. You need to use it. Like if they have build a web application, like for example if you have joined Twitter for example, and you need to understand the code base with it. So first thing you have to use Twitter. This is the first thing you have to do. So the first part is to understand why they built this project and to run it. And to be able to understand the whole business, you need to ask yourself again like the why, but also you need to ask yourself the three questions, which is first one is the why, like we said, why they build it. Second one, what is the objective, like what it delivers, what is the end product of this whole application or this project, and how it was built. This is the last part. So in this video we'll take for example a project that I already have built. It's a simple Excel sheet. I will put a link in the description. And to take an example for this, you would think like, okay, this is an Excel sheet, so why it was built? It was built to help people do complex calculations, do math, scientific things. And what it delivers solving equations or the end product or the results of the mathematical equations that people have done. And the last part is how, and it was built using React, Math.js, Recoil.js. This is the part that is how it was built. So don't focus or start with the how, but ask why, what, and the how. So ask why was it built, what is the objective, and how it was built, to get an eagle view of the whole project and to understand it. Second tip is you need to draw a map of the project. And take for an example, when you arrive to a new city and you get out of the airport, you don't know where you are and you don't know where you want to go. So normally you would open Google Maps and know everything where it is. And similar to what you would do for code bases, you would first clone the project, open it in your editor, and then start scanning each file, jumping from one file to another file. And this would consume more time. So you would probably see something like this. This is from the project that we are speaking about. And when you see the files, okay, which file should I, for example, use it to change the color of the cell, or change the type of font, or which is the CS file, or you don't know what is the map of the whole project. But how about you see something like this, or something like this? So this, I think the last one is way better, because you would see, okay, this is the most important file. Like you would see the sheets.txt file is the most important file in the whole project, and each file is directing to it. This is called the dependency graph for the project. So it would show, okay, this file depends on the other file, this file depends on this file or this different package. You would get a whole view of which file depend on which. And this graph was built using a library called Dependency Cruiser. I would put a link for this in the description. And basically it generates a map for which file depends on which, like we said. And you would take this file and then throw it into some applications that would draw the whole graph that you have seen. There is an application called Gravize. You would throw this graph into it and it would draw this map. Or there is another online tool. I would put link as well, this in the description. You could use it to draw this map. And I will put in the description a link to an article where you would see the commands that I have used to generate this map, and which are the files and the packages that you have to use to generate this map. And this would make it easier for you to discover the project. You would get a better view of which file depends on which, and would make it easier instead of like seeing the whole list of the application, which would take more time to see. Third tip is that you need to have a goal or an end goal. So first we have drawn the map of our project, but you need a compass, like where to go, where you are, and where to go. This is why you need a goal. What are you trying to do in this repository? Are you trying to apply a certain fix? So you need to understand, okay, which would be the file should I start in? Or you need to add a new feature. Okay, so which is the module that I have to first find, and then find the files to add this new feature? Or you're just trying to understand the project, like you want to gain more experience. As an example, like currently I'm doing discovery for Webpack project, and I want to understand how they build it, how it is running, not just like using the configs, but internally how they are building it. And by this, my goal would be understanding Webpack. So this is what I am trying to do. I'm not trying to add, for example, a new feature or fix a certain bug, although like in the future I would like to do that. But yeah, this is my goal. So you need to find your goal when you start reading the project. Fourth step would be reading the tests of the project, and there are two types of tests that would be helpful for you: integration and unit test. So for integration test, it would help you understand a specific module, what is it doing. Like you would jump into the login module as an example, and you would see the whole story. Like it requests the service for login, and then it sends the API to another service, and then stores the token in the token store in the UI. So reading integration tests would help you to understand a whole story or a whole flow inside the application. For unit tests, it would help you to understand a specific file or a specific function, what is doing, what's its function or part in the whole module. So you would see, okay, this stores the token part, how it stores, like it stores it in the local storage or in cookies. So reading unit tests would help you to understand the small part, and integration tests would help you to understand the whole part or the whole story of the application. Fifth step is using the debugger. This would help you to find each line and each variable inside the project and how it runs, like each step. So you know, when you see the debugger, you could, okay, I want to debug this line or this specific line, and from this line you start jumping between lines or different lines. And for the front end, there are two tabs that I am always using while I'm debugging the project to understand how the system works. This is the part to understand how the system is working. So they are the network and performance tab. Network tab helps me to understand the I/O of the application or the front end, because I am mostly doing front end tasks. This would help you to see, okay, what is the different requests that are being sent to the project or the back end in our case, like HTTP requests or socket requests. These are the different type of requests that you want to track. And second one is the performance tab, and it is usually used to do performance tasks for the application, like if the UI is lagging and you are trying to understand why it is lagging, so you usually open the performance tab. But second thing it can do as well, it will show you something called frame graph, like this you are seeing now, and it will show you different invocations that are happening for a certain interaction. Like for my case, I used it to understand the draw.io application, how it's like when you visit the website, you could draw rectangles or circles, and I want to understand how they are doing it. So using the performance tab, it will show you like each step or each function, how it is invoked and which files are invoking. So it's more helpful to understand a certain case and understand which files are being invoked, and you would be able to use the map to jump into this file and then start to roam around and understand it, like run the test, see them, and then run to the file and see everything inside it. Tip number 6 is to read the history of the project. In our case, we'll be reading the Git history and different pull requests that happen through the project. This would help you with two things. First, you'd be able to understand the business side or the product side of the project. So you remember in the first step, you needed to understand the business of the whole application. But in this one, reading the pull request would help you to understand the business side for a certain feature or a single part of the project. That's why it's helpful. And the second useful thing of reading the history is to know how your colleagues and co-workers collaborated with each other, how they communicated, what are the different things that are commenting on, what they want to change, what they are always mentioning, different libraries. That would help you to join your new tribe and be able to be a good part of the team and to help them achieve the end goal of adding new features or fixing bugs in this case. These are 6 different tips that would help you to read code bases better, and of course there are many more tips, but these are like the things that I always follow or the process that I follow to improve my reading process. And you could think of it like learning the alphabet as an example. So when you start learning the alphabet, you learn the alphabet, of course, then write words from them and write sentences. But to be able to write good sentences or stories or great paragraphs, you had to read other great works as well, like reading novels, for example, although like novel is a very big thing, but you get the idea. And similar to writing good code, you have to read a lot of code. So yes, first you have to learn the alphabets of code. In this case, you have to learn the if and functions and whiles and different parts of programming. But to be able to write good functions, good design patterns, how to write a certain part of the code and solve a certain problem or a big challenge, you have to read more code to understand how people solved it and how they approach it, and to be able to contribute to a big picture or a big project in our case. I hope this video was helpful for you and helped you to understand and how to read code bases better. If you have any ideas to improve the reading process or things that you actually using in your project and it will helpful, please leave in the comments and let's have a discussion about it. And see you in the next video. Ciao.